Very good evening to everyone. We are here with yet another virtual session, and today's session is taken by the one our speaker from Mauritius, Dr. Malika Kulkarni. She is a student and she is doing Bachelor's of Medicine and Bachelor of Surgery (MBBS) from SSR Medical College, University of Mauritius. She is basically from New Delhi. So I welcome you with a small introduction of yours on our platform on your growth. Thank you so much to join our platform.
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. And I will be talking about anemia, which is a very common issue in our country. I have just completed my MBBS from Mauritius, and I would like to start the topic.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Anemia is a common curable problem. The epidemiology of anemia, as we can see, anemia is prevalent all around the world, and it is especially prevalent among pregnant women. This is a WHO study of 2011, which shows us the areas in red, which denote the places where anemia is common. And as we can see, India has quite a dark orange color, so it is around 40 to 60% prevalent over there. Anemia is a major global health problem, especially in developing countries, despite the fact that it is largely preventable and easily treatable. It is responsible for morbidity as well as mortality. One third of the world's population suffers from anemia. That is the reason why I choose this topic. In India, the prevalence is very high compared to the world. It is around 50%, and anemia is more common in pregnant women and children. This is a case which I had seen during my MBBS. A 35-year-old came with fatigue. She was 24 weeks pregnant, and this was her third child. And she had not undergone any previous antenatal checkup or antenatal care. And she came with development for a taste for eating ice. She was fond of eating ice. And on physical examination, we found there was pale in the conjunctiva was pale. There was spooning of her nails, and a systolic murmur was heard. And on the lab finding, we could see the hemoglobin level was 7, which was quite low. Her hematocrit level were low. The WBC count was low, and the platelet levels were normal. The MCV, which is mean corpuscular volume, was 74, which is less than normal with 85 value. And the red cell distribution width was increased. So, what is anemia? Anemia is decrease in the total amount of RBC, hemoglobin, or the ability of blood to carry oxygen. So, according to WHO defined standards, anemia is defined in children aged 6 months to 6 years as hemoglobin less than 11, and in 6 to 14 years as less than 12, in an average adult male as non-pregnant less than 12.5. So coming to WHO grading of anemia, mild anemia is when hemoglobin is 9 to 10.9 gram per deciliter, moderate from 7 to 8.9, and severe if it is less than 7. How do we classify anemia? Based on the volume of the red blood cell, we can see anemia can be classified majorly into three types, which is microcytic, normocytic, and macrocytic. So, in coming to microcytic anemia, which is most common example of iron deficiency anemia. and lead poisoning, anemia of chronic illness, sideroblastic anemia, and thalassemias. Coming to normocytic anemia, in this the size of the RBC remains normal. So the example are hemolytic anemias, bone marrow diseases, chronic blood diseases, and macrocytic. In this, the size of the RBCs increases. So the examples are vitamin B12 deficiency, folic acid deficiency, liver disease, hypothyroidism. Etiology according to age. Females in the reproductive period, menses, pregnancy, pathological blood loss, dietary deficiency are the most common causes which need to be ruled out. And if an adult male or a postmenopausal present female present to us with anemia, we have to rule out CA colon and other cancers. And if it is an infantile child, it is mostly due to dietary deficiency, or the child was born to an anemic mother, so the his iron stores at birth were depleted itself. Coming to direct causes of anemia, so majorly it can be due to poor dietary intake of iron, folic acid, and B12 due to increased need for nutrients due to growth or disease, due to ongoing infections like TB, malaria, due to genetic disease like sickle cell anemia, thalassemia. And it can be due to excessive destruction of RBCs seen in malaria, and can be due to excessive red blood cell loss, as can be seen in hookworm infection. Hookworm infections are very common in India and can be due to viral infection during reproductive period due to excessive loss during menses at the time of postpartum. Coming to contributory causes, these causes are not directly affecting the person, but they contribute to anemia. Like if there is a lack of knowledge among the person about dietary intake and the environment, if it is polluted by heavy metals like lead, and if there is a lack of access to services like to who no proper management during delivery has not taken place, or if there is infection from helminths, or there is lack of access to common healthcare services, if there is poverty, the person can't have an adequate diet. The types of anemia are commonly, the most common anemia is iron deficiency anemia. It is seen in, what is seen in this is the iron intake is low. So without sufficient iron, our body cannot produce enough hemoglobin for RBCs to be formed. It occurs in many pregnant women, and it can be also caused due to acute blood loss. Vitamin deficiency anemia. These are seen due to folate and vitamin B12 deficiency. So if there is a diet which lacks these ingredients, vitamin deficiency anemia is seen. Sometimes what happens, a person has an sufficient intake of folate and vitamin B12, but the body is not able to absorb it, mainly the gut. This is known as pernicious anemia. It can be seen as a cognitive, it can manifest as a cognitive decline, low energy, numbness, paresthesia, depression, hypothyroidism, and infertility. Coming to aplastic anemia, it is a very rare but life threatening anemia in which there is marrow failure, in which the body doesn't form any RBCs, WBCs, as well as platelets. Common causes are leukemia, bleeding, and certain medicines which are cytotoxic, and autoimmune diseases. Sickle cell anemia, it is a anemia which is a genetic cause of anemia. In this, the RBCs, as we can see, form a sickle shape instead of the normal red shape, a round shape. It is due to a point mutation in the 6 codon of the beta globulin that leads to replacement of glutamic acid, which is normally present, with a valine residue. So the anemia results when the RBC break down quickly and the oxygen doesn't reach the organs. The crescent shaped RBCs get stuck, and this can cause infarction in the vessel. This can be life threatening, and this is known as sickle cell crisis. Anemia is it's a genetic condition in which there is 1 in 4 chance from each parent the child can become anemic if the parents are carrier of the gene. So a child may not be affected, child may just be a carrier, or child may have the disorder. Thalassemia. This is another example of a genetic condition in which the hemoglobin chain formation is hampered. It is an autosomal recessive condition and it can range from mild anemia to life threatening form known as Cooley's anemia. Again, in this, there is 1 in 4 chances the child will have anemia. So, are you anemic? If a person feels that he or she is fatigued, weak, dizzy by the end of the day or on doing mild activities, or if you think you have a pale skin, you have a rapid heartbeat or palpitation, there is shortness of breath, chest pain, headache, leg pain, insomnia, you should consider getting yourself checked. The other symptoms which we see in iron deficiency anemia is known as pica. Pica is craving for non-food items like dirt, paper, chalk, and pagophagia is craving for ice. There can be behavioral disturbance in children, reduce academic performance in school-age children, reduce ability to concentrate. All can be manifested due to iron deficiency anemia. So when a patient with anemia comes, we can look for pallor in the conjunctiva. As we can see, the pallor on pallor, how white the conjunctiva has become. We can look at the tongue; it has become very red, very white. We can look at the nail beds; they are white. We can look at the palmar creases of the patient and see that they are white out as well. Koilonychia or spooning of nail is mainly seen due to iron deficiency anemia. The nails become brittle and as we can see, they have formed a spoon-like shape. And bone deformities are common in thalassemia. This child, as we can see, has a typical appearance which is known as chipmunk faces. The face has become like a chipmunk. It is because the malar eminences are prominent. There is bossing of the frontal bone. The teeth are maloccluded. This is all as a result of the body which tries to compensate for the ongoing blood loss. There is hyperplasia of the marrow of the face. And on the X-ray, we can see hair on end appearance. We can see this is basically new bone formation which is taking place in the skull. In the legs, the leg ulcers are common in patient with sickle cell disease. And if there is ongoing hemolysis, which is breakdown of RBCs, the patient can have jaundice. We can see yellowing of the eyes, of the skin, of the general appearance of the patient. Patient may have dyspnea, which is shortness of breath, and tachycardia can be present, in which the heart rate increases. There can be arrhythmias, and angina can be there, which is in which there is chest pain, and on doing mild activity, the patient feels pain in the chest. And some anemias can also present as flow murmurs or cardiac ventricular hypertrophy. There can be signs of heart failure as well. There is atrophic glossitis. We can see the tongue become smooth instead of having papillae and ridges. It is commonly seen in iron deficiency anemia again. Then angular cheilitis, we can see there is crackling of the corner of the lips. Then aphthous ulcers are common, and restless leg syndrome is very common in patients with iron deficiency anemia. Cold extremities, reduced appetite, and paresthesia. Paresthesia is commonly seen in vitamin B12 deficiency anemia. There is a pins and needles sensation all throughout the body. And splenomegaly is commonly seen in thalassemia patient. They can be associated anxiety, depression, irritability, headache. So how do we diagnose a patient with anemia? Firstly, as we saw, the medical history can be taken. Then we can clinically examine the patient and look for all the symptoms and signs that I have discussed before. And then we go for the lab investigation. Coming to the lab investigation, for iron deficiency anemia, hemoglobin is decreased, the red cell distribution width is increased, the MCV, MCH, MCHC, all the parameters are decreased. The WBC is normal, and the platelets, if it is chronic anemia, can be decreased. Coming to diagnostic tests, serum ferritin level is decreased. As we know, serum ferritin level is the most diagnostic test for iron deficiency anemia, and serum iron level and TIBC, which is the binding capacity of ferritin, is increased. Transferrin saturation receptors are decreased. And special tests, which are usually not done but can be done in special in cases like in lead, if there is anemia due to lead uh, pollution. So in this we can see the bone marrow becomes very hypercellular and there is shaggy blue cytoplasm. So when we do a peripheral blood film, we take the patient's blood and we make a smear out of it and we examine it under the slide. So as we can see, there is pallor in the RBCs. We can see the RBCs have a big round pallor in them. And this is a consistent finding with microcytic hypochromic anemia. The example is iron deficiency anemia. And we can also go for investigations like X-ray, barium meal, barium anemia. This is an example of Plummer-Vinson syndrome, in which there is a triad of dysphagia, which is difficulty in swallowing, anemia, and esophageal webs are formed. So esophageal webs are formed mainly due to iron deficiency anemia, and this is a predisposing factor for cancer. So this condition has to be treated properly. Coming to differential diagnosis of microcytic anemia, we saw iron deficiency anemia. In this, the serum ferritin level is reduced. And compared to chronic anemia, chronic disease, the serum ferritin level is normal. And coming to thalassemia, all these parameters are normal except the MCV is low. And sideroblastic anemia, in this, the serum ferritin level is raised and the serum iron level is also raised. Additional tests, stool test for occult blood has to be done if the patient is an elderly to rule out colon cancer, stomach ulcer, ulcerative colitis. Upper lower GI endoscopy, barium studies, X-rays have to be done. Women with increased menstrual blood loss, pelvic ultrasound and uterine biopsy are advised. And to rule out celiac disease, anti-transglutaminase antibodies have to be looked for. And in tropical areas like in India, stool and urine examination for parasite is important. This is a stool examination which shows the eggs of hookworm. For other anemias, HB electrophoresis has to be done. As we can see, in sickle cell disease, HBS is seen in the light blue color. And in beta thalassemia, HbF, which is fetal hemoglobin increases, which is not supposed to happen in the normal compared to the normal pattern. And coming to megaloblastic anemia, we should go for serum B12 and B9 levels. For pernicious anemia, we should take a biopsy and do Schilling test. And lead levels have to be checked if you suspect lead poisoning or anemia due to lead exposure. Liver function test, renal function test can be employed as per indication. And megaloblastic anemia, in this, the peripheral blood film, as we can see, shows a macrovalocyte, and there is a hypersegmented neutrophil, and there are Heinz oval jolly bodies. Pernicious anemia, there is mucosal atrophy, usually complete, was always present, and a moderate degree of infiltration with inflammatory cell can be seen on doing the biopsy of a patient with pernicious anemia. So coming to the management, firstly, we have to determine the cause. And if it is usually multifactorial, and then investigate for any serious diseases, and the lifestyle management or the dietary advice is given, and the normalization of hemoglobin level and the other red cell indices, and then replenishing the iron store is the major goal of our management. So what are the 10 superfoods to counter anemia? If the person is non-vegetarian, red meat diet is advised. But if the person is vegetarian, as most of our Indian population is, we need to advise a green leafy vegetable diet, soya bean, eggs, fruits and nuts, and jaggery, which is a good source of iron, has to be advised. And to help in iron absorption, citrus fruit intake like orange, avla has to be taken by the patient along with iron intake. And the patient has to avoid coffee and tea during meals as these inhibit the absorption of iron from our food. Then the food which cereals and legumes which a person need has to be cooked and germinated because this reduces the content of phytate, which again inhibits iron absorption. Then the mother is advised to exclusively breastfeed up to 6 months, and after that complementary food has to be given to the child. And the patient is also advised to cook in iron utensils if possible, and proper antenatal checkup and supplementation of iron and folic acid are given in pregnant females. So what is the recommended daily allowance? The recommended daily allowance in a pregnant female should increase up to 27 milligram, and in the adult male it is 8 milligram. In a normal non-pregnant female, 18 milligram. In a child or a baby up to 6 months, 0.27 mg. So what are the 6 interventions for anemia? First is prophylactic iron folic acid supplementation. Then second is we have to do deworming of children, adolescent and pregnant women. Third is through communication campaigns and delayed cord clamping during the delivery of the child. Fourthly, we have to use digital methods and point of care treatment. Then we have mandatory provision of uh, iron and folic acids fortified food, which should be included in our health programs. And lastly, we should look for reducing the focus of malaria, fluorosis in the environment. So oral iron is the most commonly used for treating anemia. 200 milligram of elemental iron is given in 3 divided doses. This is to get maximal hematopoietic response, that is to get the best response in for the anemia, and the response has to be monitored. The level should increase by 2 gram per deciliter within 4 to 8 weeks. And the patient will tell you that I feel well, there is an improved sense of well being after a few days. But the normalization of hemoglobin may take up to 3 months, and it will take longer to replenish the iron stores. Coming to parenteral iron, it is indicated if oral iron cannot be tolerated, like there is diarrhea or bowel upset, and there is failure to absorb oral iron as seen in malabsorption syndrome. If there is non-compliance to oral iron, and in presence of severe deficiency with chronic bleeding. Blood transfusion is indicated only if the patient is hemodynamically unstable, patient comes very late, or there is very high blood loss which is ongoing, and the hemoglobin level is less than 7. Coming to prophylactic iron folic acid supplementation regime, in adolescent girls and boys, one iron and folic acid tablet is given, and each tablet contains 60 milligram elemental iron with 500 microgram folic acid. It is a blue color tablet. And women of reproductive age who are non-pregnant and non-lactating, they can take weekly one iron and folic acid tablet. And all women of reproductive age group who are in the preconceptional period and in the first trimester of pregnancy are advised to take 400 microgram of folic acid. This is to prevent neural tube defects in the baby. And pregnant women and lactating mother up to 6 months after the childbirth are advised to start iron and folic acid supplementation from the second trimester, not from the first trimester, as that time the patient suffers from nausea and vomiting. So if we start the iron and folic acid supplementation that time, the nausea and vomiting will increase and the iron will naturally not be absorbed. So through the second trimester, we start these medications, and this has to be continued throughout the pregnancy for minimum of 180 days, and has to be continued even after the pregnancy when the woman is lactating. And 60 milligram elemental iron with 500 microgram folic acid is advised. Now, if an anemic woman comes to us who is pregnant, so in the first level of treatment for mild to moderate anemia, we advise her to take 2 to 3 tablets in a day, uh, and this has to be regularly followed up by a healthcare provider. But if she presents later in months of pregnancy, then we have to go for parenteral iron. We can give IV iron sucrose or ferric carboxymaltose as per the first line of treatment in this woman. And regular follow-up has to be done every 2 months. And if there is no improvement, then we have to refer to patient to higher units. If the anemia is severe, then we have to directly go for IV sucrose and ferrous carboxymaltose. So this was all. Thank you very much. And please take iron deficiency anemia seriously and get yourself tested if you present with any of the following symptoms. Thank you.
Thank you. I do have one or two questions regarding your presentation. When we talk about intervention in the common public or in the rural areas, what are the first major factors doctors should observe as a symptom in those kind of women?
This, as you said about rural areas, there is lack of knowledge. So the patient will come with general symptoms like fatigue. Then we can look for pallor in the patient. We can ask the patient like when she is doing work, she gets tired very easily, or she is getting dyspneic, or what is her dietary history. We should know. And if she has suffered from any major illness, in there can be a possibility she's suffering from ongoing worm infection or any other infection which she is not aware about.
Yeah. There are multiple factors which determines the cause of anemia or the disease anemia, like how it is happening. But when it comes to lab investigations, what are the things we should look forward if we check through lab investigation?
The first and foremost is to check the hemoglobin level. If the hemoglobin level is within normal limits for the person's given age and gender, then we don't have to investigate any further as such. But if the hemoglobin level is low, we have to find out the cause. And for that, we have to go for a peripheral blood film, maybe, or we can go for nowadays automated analyzers are available everywhere. So we can go for that. And if those investigations are usually the ones which point out to the correct diagnosis, and if by chance all these fail, then we have to go for bone marrow biopsy, which is quite in a later stage.
Yeah. There are the programs which are going on through the government of India to people know about what anemia is and how you have to take care of yourself. So what are the points you think that must be added in the process of anemia?
As I have included some of my points from Anemia Mukt Bharat program, which is currently ongoing in India, and it focuses that by the year 2022, the India should be anemia mukt, and the points which are added are already quite sufficient. But realistically speaking, telling a person who is poor that have a green leafy diet and all is not sufficient. So I would like to say that some provision should be there to include the health program, and as well as to provide a ration or give a to there should be some way to provide this diet to the pregnant women or to the children.
Yeah, that's a very good point of which what we say the perfect point that diet should be taken care to the ladies or the pregnant women who are suffering from this anemia. So that would be my questions, and I wanted to ask what would be your motivation to take you forward in this career of MBBS, and who is your motivation in your professional career?
uh, I don't know, like I think I was self motivated to take this But I would also like to say my mother is a doctor and I have always looked up to her.
That is so great, so nice of you. So thank you so much to come on our platform. What would be your parting thoughts to all who are watching this?
Firstly, I would like to thank the OYG team for inviting me on this wonderful platform. And one of you to look at your mother, your daughter, or anyone in your family and educate them how important it is for a woman because they are more prone to anemia. Boys, you should get yourself tested. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a request, whatever you have said last sentence because of network issues is got disconnected in between. So if you repeat the same, it would be great for all of us, all of us.
Yeah. So I would like to say that anemia, as we can see, is very prevalent among the ladies, especially. So if it would be great through this platform if all the men and would look after their wives, their daughters, their mothers, the grandmother, and ask them if they have any of the symptoms and get themselves tested. And even if they feel themselves that they have any of these symptoms, then get tested. Let us all try to achieve this goal of making India anemia free by 2022. Thank you.
That's a very kind message from you. And we all doctors and we all should give a very good efforts to help in this initiative taken by the central government of India to remove anemia from India. So
Yeah.
thank you so much, Dr. Malika, to join us to give us a very good perspective from the epidemiology, diagnosis part, the management part, the how intervention should be, and how we should take care from ourselves. So thank you so much for giving overall approach in just 30 minutes. We hope we can connect again in offline or some other topic too in
Yeah.
near future.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.